See who else is on here.
All right, let's see.
Is wonderful.
Yes.
Really? About how many people are on here?
We're up to 29 participants.
Oh, good. I'm just going to be scrolling back and forth so I can see whatever I can.
And students, feel free to have your videos on if you. Keitha.
Keitha, yes, please do. I'd like to see you guys. I'm going to be scrolling back and forth so I can see you. Let's see. Kayla, I can't see you. Jade, your hair looks fabulous, hon. Jerry.
Hey, Keitha Nelson, how are you?
I am fabulous. Jake, Shannon, Aaliyah, put on your video if you can, so we can chat, like you feel connected with you guys. It's all good. Is that Lance finally? Let me go back and see. Hey, how you doing? Cool. Cool. Are we streaming right now? Should I start to behave myself? Okay. They might as well know the real deal, right?
Okay, well, we can go ahead and get started. I am still letting our guests in, and so we can continue doing that, but we can certainly go ahead and get started. Keitha, it's great to have you. So wonderful to see so many colleagues and also students here with us today. We do have Dr. Westbrook with us and also Dr. Caruso, so I do want to acknowledge them as well, along with our department chair, Dr. Stewart. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Nicholls State University's Department of Mass Communication, and as we affectionately call it, our MACO department's Black History Month program. So this is an annual program that we do. I am Dr. Shanice Bickham, for those of you who may not know me, and I am hosting alongside my colleague, Professor Farron Clark. Today's program features a guest lecture from our outstanding alumna, Keitha Nelson. It is important that we celebrate excellence as exhibited in our graduates, such as Keitha. So of course, we are so happy to have her here with us. After Keitha's lecture, we will have a brief Q&A period, followed by closing remarks from our chair, Dr. James Stewart. So now I do want to turn it over to Professor Clark, who will give us more information about Keitha.
Thank you, Dr. Bickham. It's great to have everyone here. And it's great to see Keitha again, former track athlete teammate. Keitha Nelson-Williams, Spring 2004, is an award-winning journalist in Jacksonville, Florida. A New York native, Nelson-Williams, she attended Nicholls State on a track scholarship. As an undergraduate, she was a member of Chi Theta chapter of Delta Sigma Theta sorority and served as president of the Radio and Television Digital News Association, also known as RTDNA. Keitha has been recognized for her work in journalism and community involvement, winning an award for excellence in broadcast journalism from Women in Media and Edward R. Murrow and Peabody Award for hurricane coverage as a part of the WLOX news team, and an Emmy with ABC 57 News. Keitha courageously discussed in a 6-part YouTube series her struggles with infertility. She says too many women suffer in silence, and she refused to keep that cycle going. And it's our honor to present to everyone here, Keitha Nelson-Williams. Keitha.
Hi, everyone. I'm Keitha, as Farron mentioned. I'm going to give you a warning. I'm not a very formal person. We will be chit-chatting during this lecture. I don't like the way that sounds. And it's also a little weird to call Farron professor. I have to get used to that one. So Farron and I ran track together at Nicholls State University. As he mentioned, I graduated in spring '04. And speaking of graduation, before I even get started, I just want to applaud everyone who had a hand in creating the Crown program. When I heard about it a couple of years ago, I thought to myself, that is amazing. It's something that I'm grateful that Nicholls has. It's something that should be implemented at all universities across the US. The Crown program doesn't just help with retention, but tries its best to make sure that our Black male entrant students, that they don't just come onto campus, but they make it all the way through and to graduate, doing such with mentorship. So congratulations to everyone who had a hand in that. Farron, I know you're one of them, all of the mentors, as well as volunteers. So I want to congratulate Nicholls on putting together that program. Now, understand it's lunchtime. I hope you have a little snacks with you so no one gets hangry. I have my drink right here. It's non-alcoholic, by the way, just in case you're wondering. I'm a little loopy. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and delve into things. And before we talk about media and the Black family, I want to focus on the fact that representation matters. Have any of you heard of Carter G. Woodson? Raise your hands if you have. If you haven't, no problem, we'll talk about it. Carter G. Woodson. So he is known as the father of Black history. Carter G. Woodson created Negro History Week. Now, he did so back in 1926. That eventually evolved into Black History Month, which we all know now throughout the month of February. So this story that you're about to see, it's called Vivid Hues. It's a series that we put together for Black History Month. And it's a bit different than the typical news package that you'll see, the news story, because we wanted to do things different to open the eyes and draw in viewers. What we did was we paired trailblazers within the Jacksonville community with our local artists. So we had these pioneers within our city narrate the stories that I wrote, and then we had local artists pretty much paint the picture of what is going on, or in this particular case, it's an oil painting of Carter G. Woodson. So Farron, if you can play that video, and right after we're going to chit chat about it. Are you guys hearing it? I'm not.
Farron, you're on mute.
I don't hear anything.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Maybe start over.
Thank you.
Jacksonville pioneer Nathaniel Glover, the first African-American elected sheriff in the state of Florida, he lends his voice to share Carter G. Woodson's mission in collaboration with Duval County School Superintendent Dr. Diana Green. Jacksonville artist Keith Doles, he creates an oil painting of the father of Black history as Glover and Green take us back to 1926 and the creation of Negro History Week.
If you teach the Negro that he has accomplished as much good as any other race, he will aspire to equality and justice without regard to race. Carter G. Woodson.
September 1915. 50 years after the 13th Amendment abolished slavery, freeing a people ill-equipped to thrive, taught from birth to believe they were inferior, Woodson aimed to right that wrong. Woodson, born in December of 1875 to former slaves who couldn't read or write, became an author, editor, publisher, and historian. Harvard graduate would research and help spread the rich history of Black people, debunking myths that serve to corrupt the minds of youth, oppressing generations.
Those who have no record of what their forebears have accomplished lose the inspiration which comes from the teaching of biography and history.
Woodson and Minister Jesse E. Moreland founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History in Chicago, Illinois on September 9th, 1915. Its purpose? To explore and share the achievements of Black Americans, inventors and scientists, genius sprung from the minds of people whose worth they were taught was of no real value. By 1926, Negro History Week was created, celebrated during the second week of February, coinciding with Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass's birthdays. Communities across the nation would become inspired and organize local celebrations. Schools created history clubs, lectures sharing accomplishments and performances, bringing to light a history that could not be denied.
If a race has no history, it has no worthwhile tradition. It becomes a negligible factor in the thought of the world, and it stands in danger of being exterminated. Carter G. Woodson.
By the late 1960s, Negro History Week had evolved into Black History Month on many college campuses. President Gerald Ford officially recognized Black History Month in 1976. Nathaniel Glover, whose voice you just heard there, was already 33 years old. To learn more about Glover, Dr. Green, and the artist Keith Doles featured in this piece, you can visit our First Coast News app.
Homeowners, this incredible tip is just for you. If you
I was like, who's that guy? All right, so let's talk briefly about what we just saw. That was like a prime example of why representation matters. That's what the father of Black history is known for, Carter G. Woodson. He believed that in order for us as a people to achieve, we needed to see people like ourselves in certain roles to know that it is possible. So I want to talk with you all about that. Do you agree with that or not? Do you believe that you need to see someone similar to yourself in certain roles in order for you to believe, hey, I too can do that? So Farron, you say you're going to navigate through this. Just go ahead and if you can answer that, or if you want to talk about it, just raise your hand. So again, I'm asking you, do you believe that in order for you to achieve something, you need to see someone in a similar role, someone similar to yourself in that particular role? Do you agree or disagree? Jade, you're saying yes. Why is that?
I feel like we need somebody who did it before to just like give us hope and just tell us that if they could do it before your time, then we could do it now and we can achieve it.
That's right. That's right. Anyone else? I want to read this quote to you briefly, and I want to talk about this quote because
It
it's
looks
so
like
powerful.
Brittany had a question.
Yeah, Brittany. Brittany.
Go for it, Britt.
No, I didn't have a question. I was just going to say something.
Go for it.
I was just going to say that I feel when you see someone as like yourself or someone like an ordinary person and not a famous person, you have more of a chance of believing you can do that too.
Yeah. Ordinary. We're all ordinary people, right? Regardless of what role you're in. Yeah. Everyone was ordinary at some point. They still are behind the scenes, right? And take off all the makeup, all the cameras, all the lights, all that stuff. We're all ordinary, as you say. Now, I want to go over this quote with you, and I want you to listen carefully because we need to talk about this. If you teach the Negro he has accomplished as much as any other race, he will aspire to equality and justice without regard to race. What was Carter G. Woodson saying with that quote? What did he mean? I'm going to say it one more time. If you teach the Negro he has accomplished as much as any other race, he will aspire to equality and justice without regard to race. I believe there's someone who wanted to answer that. I can't see everyone at the same time, but.
I think that means that if you teach if you teach that person that they can do anything that any other race can, like they can't do just one thing they can do anything they want to, then that'll inspire them to do more than they think they can. So, and that can make the world a better place for people of all different races.
That's just it. Is there anyone else? I don't want to cut anyone off. Because I believe you hit the nail on the head, sir. That is the whole purpose of Black History Month and celebrating Black history, is to bring to light the accomplishments of Black people so that others can see this and realize, I too can do this. I too can be great, because there's so many unsung heroes in Black history, people we don't know about, things that they've created, so much genius in the minds of African Americans that don't often get brought to light. So that's the importance of Black History Month. A lot of times, I believe the message of BHM gets lost. Folks are like, why are we still celebrating this every year? It's necessary to inspire and educate and uplift, right? We decided to turn that piece that you just saw, that package, I did 3 of those. And in collaboration with another one of my coworkers who did 2 stories, we decided to put together a 30-minute piece, a 30-minute special called Vivid Hues 365. So we're taking this beyond the month of February. This special is going to air in March, on March 10th. And I plan to continue to do this throughout the year. We're going to continue to do Vivid Hues type of stories because it's important to highlight Black history, not just in the month of February. We don't have to be limited to just one month. So we're going to keep it going. Now, I mentioned earlier, well, I didn't mention, Farron did. He mentioned that I graduated in 04. Put all my business out there. You guys know how old I am, just about close to 40. So I've been in the business for about 17 years now, and I have always been very cautious regarding my anchoring and reporting when it comes to representation. But I want to highlight something that we don't often talk about, because for a long time you heard people saying that there needs to be representation in front of the camera, right? We need to see more minority faces, more people of color on camera. That's not the focus. The focus should also be on representation behind the camera, because a lot of people don't realize the real decisions that are made aren't being made by your reporters or your anchors. The big decisions, the programming that we see on air, that's made by management. So there needs to be diversity, not just on the camera, but behind the scenes as well. Your executive producer, your assistant news director, your general manager, those who make decisions behind closed doors, in those rooms where the doors are closed, they need to be diverse as well. So that's something I wanted to highlight. Because quite frankly, a lot of us do have biases, whether we want to admit that or not. As a matter of fact, how many of you are willing to be brave enough to raise your hand and admit that you are biased based on what you've experienced in your lifetime? You want to raise your hand and be honest about that? I don't see a lot of hands. Well, mine is going up because I have to admit it. It's important for there to be a system of checks and balances. My co-anchor and I, executive producer as well, and producer, we don't always see eye to eye on things. And that is a good thing, because when it comes to journalism, it is important for us to be able to discuss the issues, discuss what we're seeing, and make sure that we are right down the line when it comes to reporting. Because quite frankly, what's important on our end is to report the facts. That's it. You report the cold, hard facts and leave it up to the viewer to form their own opinions. But unfortunately, that does not always happen. And that's why we're seeing a lot of this whole fake news era. People are saying, if you don't agree with what I have to say, it's fake news. Drives me nuts, right? So a lot of folks are upset with the cable networks. We're seeing CNN, Fox News saying that they're biased. And to be quite honest, there are times that I have watched and thought to myself, wow, this is one-sided from both CNN and Fox, because what you're hearing is not necessarily just fact, but a lot of opinion. And that's what cable news is all about. Do you guys agree or disagree with that, by the way? I want to talk about that. Are you seeing the same thing with, for example, Fox and CNN? I saw agreed, exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. That's Nicole. Why is that? 100% from Zachary. Let's talk about it. Why is that?
Hey, Keitha. Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that I try to talk about in all of my classes, that cable news has, in many instances, gotten to where all we do is seek out our own confirmation bias, and that's how we do it. We go to cable news and we look for someone to tell us exactly what we want to believe, and we don't want to hear anything else. And so it's frustrating from a journalistic standpoint, and I know you feel it too. I'm sure all of us do, that our profession is kind of getting a bad rap as a result.
Yeah. There's no question about that. Zachary, you as well. I saw that you agreed. You want to talk about it? Farron, are you able to pull up Zachary?
I see that Zachary put it in the chat. I do see him.
Okay.
He did post a comment. It'd be great if he could share it. He
cannot talk right now. Okay, no problem. We
No
get
problem.
the point though. You agree with that statement. It's very true. But so we just spoke about biases and stereotypes. And I do want to mention this. It's important for us to broaden not just our own horizons, but sometimes that of others as well. And we know that we can do that through various things, by having civil, honest, open conversations. Sometimes they're difficult conversations, but they do need to be had. And it's important that we share certain things together. I wanted to also incorporate into this chat my personal journey that I decided to share with all of our viewers, because it ties in with the whole theme of Black History Month, which we know is the Black family representation, and that it matters. Now, I shared a very personal journey with our viewers back in 2019. I opened up about my journey to motherhood. You see, my husband and I struggled with fertility issues for many years, about 6 years or so. And we chose to share our story for a number of reasons, not just share it, but I was very purposeful in how we shared the story. So for one, fertility issues is somewhat of a taboo topic in the Black community. You don't hear a lot of Black people talking about it, though we are definitely affected by it. In fact, studies actually suggest that Black women may be twice as likely as white women to have fertility problems, but we are far less likely to seek fertility treatments. A number of reasons behind that. As I mentioned, it's a bit taboo in the Black community to talk about having fertility issues. And then treatments, the cost of treatment. So just to give you an idea of what's going on currently, states do not regulate, most states, the majority of states do not regulate insurance companies when it comes to providing fertility treatments. The majority of them don't say, hey, you have to add this to your insurance company. And therefore they don't. Why? Because they want to make money, save money. And so you have a lot of people that have to come out of pocket for fertility treatments, which is very costly, by the way. We're talking about $20,000 or so on average. Imagine having to reach in your pocket and find $20,000 cash, to pay for a fertility treatment. So it's certainly an issue. And another issue we're seeing is sperm donors as well as egg donors from Black people. That is not something that you see often either, as opposed to when you compare it to white donors. So there are a lot of things that I felt we need to talk about this. We need to bring this to light, not just because of the issue I'm having, but also because of the color of my skin. We have these issues as well, you know what I mean? So I felt that we had to mention it. And Farron mentioned earlier in the bio that he mentioned, I felt as if there were so many women, families struggling in silence, and I didn't want that to continue. I felt as if we needed to be open about it. So I want to talk about how we decided to share this. My husband is also a graduate of Nicholls State University, and he is a bit on the shy side, I suppose. He is not a fan of being on the camera at all. But we sat down and we spoke about the importance of us sitting there together as a unit, because there are a lot of assumptions that are made when it comes to the Black family, you know, outside of our own little community, people that don't know any better. A lot of assumptions, like majority of us are single moms, or whatever the case may be. Not to knock certain family units, though. Let's make that clear, because I was raised by a single mom who did a phenomenal job, by the way. That's just not what I wanted for my children, not what my husband and I wanted for our children. And we wanted people to see that there are different types of Black families. He and I were both, you know, doing fairly well. And it's important to put that out there, let people see that as well. So he agreed to be a part of the journey. It's a 6-part series, as we mentioned there. It's on YouTube, by the way, if you ever want to check that out. I pray none of you have fertility issues, but just in case you're curious about it, you could check that out. So he and I agreed. He agreed to be a part of it. It turned out to be a phenomenal series, by the way. I still get comments from viewers to this day, messages, people going through similar situations. I had no idea the impact that was going to have on this community, but it certainly did. And that goes to, as well, why it's important sometimes to share your own testimony with people, because you never know who you might impact, who you might help. So, you know, sometimes it's good to want to help out others. Don't just think about yourself. So we ended up having 2 beautiful children that I'm going to show off right now, Trey and Journey. We had twins. I think Farron has a picture of that. And yes, I'm going to show off my babies because it took a lot. It took a lot for us to finally get them here, but we are very much grateful for that. Farron, do you not have my babies to show off? There they are.
I got you, babies. I got you, babies.
There's Trey and Journey. They're going to make 2 in May. I know already. Okay, so again, that had a lot to do with the theme of this year's Black History, media and the Black family. We chose to share our story together as a unit to show that this is also a representation of the Black family. And you know what? I take my job incredibly serious, as well as the responsibility that comes with it, because to be honest with myself, I am likely one of few Black friends that a lot of my viewers have. And I know a lot of you, I don't know if any Chris Rock fans are in the audience, but Chris Rock once had a joke saying that Black people have a whole bunch of white friends, but white people have maybe 2 or 3 Black friends. It is what it is. It's just the way it is. And so knowing this, knowing that I am one of the few people that they know, and I say no because they invite me into their homes on a daily basis, into their living rooms, their bedrooms in some cases, because I'm on early in the morning for Good Morning Jacksonville. And knowing this, that I represent so much to them in terms of a people they don't know, I'm all they see, I have to take things very seriously with everything I say and do. Not to put too much pressure on myself, but I am cautious about things that I say, things that I do. And it's something that you should be as well. And it's not your responsibility. Let's make this clear. It's not your responsibility to change minds or feelings, but it is your responsibility to be the best you possible. That's it. That's all you can do, is be the best representation of yourself as you can possibly be. I'm not just talking to all of my Black and brown people in the audience, but white as well, all of you out there, all of you Nicholls State University students. You want to be the best person that you can be, because you are a representation of so much more than just yourself. People will take notice, by the way. They do notice you. No matter how much in a corner you feel you are, how shy you are, people do notice you. Now, I want to leave you all with this. Do things with purpose, everything. What you say, what you do, your appearance, what you post to social media. Do it all with purpose. Because you need to think, what do I want to do today? What do I want to accomplish? Who will I influence for the better today? Always keep that in the back of your mind, because you are influencing other people, whether you realize it or not. You serve a purpose. We all do. I want you to make your moves with purpose as well. As I mentioned, every little thing you do, make sure there's a purpose behind it, because you are a representation of my university, Nicholls State University, and representation matters. Thank you guys so much for having me this afternoon. We're going to open this up to any questions or questions you may have. I am an open book, as I mentioned earlier. So anything you want to know, shoot it. I'm ready.
Well, first, I want to start off by thanking you for this wonderful talk. I'm sure the students and everyone here will agree that this has been amazing. And so I want to kick off our Q&A session with a question for you. And a lot of the things that you said resonated with me, and I'm hoping that a lot of it was familiar to our students, because we do talk about the fact that, you know, whether we want to admit it or not, that bias does exist in the media, and we talk about ways to combat that. We talk about diversity in the media, and as you mentioned, we need diverse voices, not just in front of the camera, but also in the room at the table where decisions are made. We also talk about the fact that diversity extends beyond just race and gender, and the fact that we also need diversity of views and perspectives out in the media. So we do touch on those things. And so I just want to ask you, as marginalized groups continue to break barriers in the professional media industry, what do you think our student journalists can do to ensure that there is diversity and inclusion in their student media newsrooms, whether that's the Nicholsworth or KNSU or our radio stations? What would be your advice to them?
Well, look, I don't want you guys to pressure yourself into too much. You can only do what you can take care of. So if you happen to be a minority, make sure that your voice is being heard. A lot of times you will be silenced or ignored. You'll feel ignored. But hey, I have something to say. I have an opinion. I'm going to add my 2 cents. Shirley Chisholm, I'm a Delta, by the way, a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And Shirley Chisholm, who was also a soror, she had a quote that I absolutely loved. I don't remember verbatim, but she said, if they do not give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And I live by that. If I have an opinion and I want something to be known, you're going to hear it whether you like it or not. And I don't want to be overly aggressive or combative, but sometimes you are going to have to speak up a bit. So don't ever be afraid to do that. So that's to all of you student journalists out there. Don't ever be afraid to let your voice be heard. Also, always do things respectfully. Let's keep that in mind. You always want to be respectful because you too want to be respected. That's something I say all the time. I don't disrespect people because I won't stand to be disrespected. So do things respectfully, but if you have to get a little aggressive, do it because you need to be heard.
Do you have any questions from our student audience?
If you don't mind, I'm not a student, but one of the things that I think, well, I'm a student of life. So, but no, I just wanted to maybe bring into this discussion, because my perspective is obviously much longer than everyone else's on this call. But is it hard for you as a journalist to convince your managers, which you were referring to earlier, that, hey, this is like the piece you started with? In other words, it's easy to go cover a house fire, right? You send a TV crew and you get the thing and you edit it 10 minutes on the air. This is a little bit more involved in terms of production value, and it's not as a clean line between an event happened and we're telling the public about it. So is it hard to sell your managers on the topics and how those topics can be approached in a different manner?
I think it is for some. Just to be transparent, I've been in this business for a while now, 17 plus years. So my voice does get heard a little louder than, say, like a younger reporter. And I'm just being honest with you. That's just how it is. You tend to trust folks who with a bit more experience. So for me personally, it wasn't so difficult. I said, hey, I have a vision. This is going to work. This is who I have behind it. And so I was allowed to do it. But for, say, a younger reporter, a lot of you aspiring journalists just getting in to the game, it may be difficult. But as I mentioned before, when you really have a passion for something and you feel the story needs to be told, then you're going to have to push for it. You're going to have to fight for it.
And I had another question. Just kind of thinking back to your Nichols days, what would you say was your biggest takeaway from your time here that helped you to build and establish your career?
Oh man. I don't know. Lance was just amazing. Let me tell you, and it doesn't necessarily work with everyone, but Lance and Andy Simoncelli and Felicia Harry as well. Those are all my professors in MACO. And they all kind of have like I don't want to say hands off, but they have the approach of let's see what you can do. And for a lot of people in this business, I feel like, yes, you have to be an excellent writer. So you have that part of you, kind of a type A personality, but you also have to have a creative mind. And in order to let a creative mind flourish, you do need to be a bit hands off, right? And so takeaway, I appreciate my time there. And because of the size of Nichols, I was able to put my hand into so many different pots. I mean, I produced, I anchored, reported, directed. I got to do everything. And at larger universities, you won't necessarily have the same opportunity. So my biggest takeaway, I appreciate Nichols. I really did. And I remember, so I ran track, by the way. I got a scholarship to Nichols. And I remember going on a visit to Grambling State University. And I had so much fun that weekend. And I also had a girlfriend who I went to college with who went to Grambling State University. Guess what? She didn't graduate. She had a little too much fun. So I appreciate Nichols, how small the university was. Nightlife wasn't as, fun as other universities, but that's what I needed. And I don't know, I just really appreciate the Bayou, the people, everything about it.
I've got a question, Keitha.
Uh-oh. What you want, Baron? I mean, Professor Clark, I'm sorry.
Oh man, just calling out my name. Why don't you? No, but during COVID, what is it like being a journalist during the time of COVID? I'm sure you've learned adjusting while, over the years that you've been graduated and working in your profession. These are different times now. So what kind of adjustments have you had to make as a journalist?
Well, what you're looking at right now is this thing keeps on slipping, by the way, my little makeshift home studio. For about 5 months or so back in 2020, I was anchoring I'm upstairs, by the way, in my house in our loft area. I'm probably sweating, it's hot up here, but I was anchoring from this room and for about 20 months and 5 months. And it was awful for me because I anchor a morning show. So our interaction with your coworkers, it's so important. And I didn't have that. And there's also about a 7-second delay. So when we're talking with each other, you have to time everything out. The vibe isn't there, the camaraderie isn't there. So what did I learn? I learned resilience during this entire thing. Like you have to persevere regardless of whatever your circumstance is. It hasn't been difficult. It hasn't been easy. It's still difficult now because during that time I went back to the station and got sent back home again because the numbers in Duval were on the rise. And now I'm back at the station again. And I hope it stays that way, for quite some time because I enjoyed it. So there was a lot of tough lessons to learn. We have folks in the field as well. I'm going to tell you what was really difficult for a lot of our reporters in the field. I'm sure you remember after the Black Lives Matter movement, it kind of picked up steam during COVID. Could you imagine covering those, those protests in the streets while you're trying to be socially distanced, while you're trying to wear a mask, while people are angry with you because at the time, there was a lot of rhetoric being pushed about fake news, the media being the enemy. And so we felt that, being in the field from a lot of people just angry with us, angry with the situation, angry with COVID, angry with Black Lives Matter. So there's a lot of hate being geared towards journalists. And so it's been difficult. It has been. I will say though, 2021 has been a bit better. We still have a ways to go, but it has been a difficult journey. I can't sugarcoat it at all. But resilience is definitely the key, and perseverance. That's what we all had to do. Like you have a job to do, and regardless of what folks are saying or doing, your purpose. You're there to serve the people, And you're just going to have to do that regardless of what some may feel or think.
Thank you.
Hey, Jade, for some reason, the camera's on you. How are you?
Good.
Do you have any questions? Are you okay?
I feel like with this question, it's kind of like getting into your business, and I don't know if that's really, I don't know if that's really okay, but I just want to ask, as far as your degree, how high did you go? Like, did you just do bachelor's, the master's, or like doctoral? Like, how far did you go?
That's not bad. So everyone has their own path, right? I have friends who are journalists who decided to take it all the way to get their doctorate, their PhD. That's what they decided to do. Is it necessary in our field? Not unless you have a specific niche that you want to cover, right? Because some folks have bureaus, or I forget what it's called because we don't use it so much anymore. But some folks have specific niches that they cover, and so they choose to be specialists in that particular field. So they went on and got their PhD. Me personally, I just wanted to write. I still just love to write. I love to create. This creative part of me that comes out a lot. So I wasn't interested in getting my PhD. I didn't need my master's. My bachelor's is what I needed. And I initially thought I wanted to do print media, but I remember being pulled aside really early on by someone who said, "You realize that print is dying?" and I didn't. And I hate to say that, but when last have you picked up a newspaper? Let's be real. So a lot of people are going online to do things. And I decided to just apply for both print as well as broadcast. Broadcast worked out quickly for me, quicker than print. And so that's how I got into this particular field, which I'm thrilled about because it just allows me to be me. Like I couldn't picture myself doing anything else. I absolutely love what I do on a daily basis. But how far did I go? I got a bachelor's in mass comm from Nicholls State. And that's all that I aspired to do, at the time. I don't think I will get my master's. I mean, not to discourage any of you from doing that, because if there's a particular niche that you want, like something that you want to cover, you're going to have to specialize in that. So I would suggest you getting your master's, but that wasn't my path.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That was a great question, Jade.
I'm sorry, I know you can't see me. I'm not in appearance right now. This is Mark Forbes. I have a question. After you graduated from Nicholls, how was it difficult in the journalism field when you got your first job as a Black woman? Or was it easy for you to just come in and adapt to your environment? Did you experience any, what am I trying to say? Any difficulties or any resistance or something that you felt that you need to do in order to get them to accept you as a Black woman in the journalist field?
Besides just being a Black woman, yes, there was difficulty. I haven't found anything to be easy per se. I'm more comfortable in my skin now and what I do, who I am, because I've been doing this for a while. But initially coming in, there was nothing easy about it. And to just take away the race portion or my gender, in this field, when you first start out, if you choose broadcast journalism, by the way, it's going to be tough because in this day and age, MMJ is the way to go. So you are a multimedia journalist, meaning that you are going to shoot yourself, edit yourself, sometimes produce yourself, obviously write your own stories, put it all together. And now there's a social media component to all of this, right? So it's a lot of work. When I started out, there was no social media. Things weren't expected as fast as they are now. So has it been easy? No, not at all. In terms of my race and my gender, I'm sure I got turned down for things, or I've been looked at differently because of that. But is that my focus? No, please. I have work to do. I have things to do. I don't focus on that. So yes, it's obvious it has played a factor in things, but that has never been my focus. I've never let that hinder me. Your biases, your issues, those are your issues, and I refuse to take them on.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you.
know who Lance is. Hey, Brandon. Throw out everything you learned from Lance. Just kidding. He's going to teach you the foundation, the base that you need. But you know what? It's just a hands-on thing. That's how this field is. And every station you go to is going to be something different. So I will tell you, things have changed a lot since I started out. So the thing to do when I started in this field back in 04, a long time ago, is that you wanted to market hop in order to make money and move up in the world. So I started out in Morgan City, Louisiana. Y'all know Morgan City. You know, I rarely say that and people know what the heck I'm talking about, but y'all are in Thibodeau, so you get it. And I was only there for maybe like half a year because it was just, so sorry, Morgan City folks, but it was tough because, as I mentioned, you end up having to do all those things, right? Edit, shoot, produce, anchor, report, everything. You are it. And for me, I wanted more. I wanted to broaden my horizons. Production quality mattered to me. A lot of places just want you to produce. I'm not into that, especially where I am now. I want to produce quality work that I can be proud of. You know what I mean? So it's good to start out there, start out small to learn, and then move up, you know, if that's what you want to do. But to answer your question though, you're just going to have to learn along the way. And my biggest advice, by the way, to all of you, in any field, whatever you decide to do, is to get an internship. That is so important. It's important to put your feet in the shoes of the people that are doing what you think you want to do, because sometimes you might get there and you're like, oh my gosh, what is this? It's fall in love, and that gives you the inspiration, the fire you need to just keep it going and make it happen, pursue that passion, that dream. So internships are super important. I don't care if you are wanted to be in PR, if you want to be a journalist, print journalist, whatever it is, make sure you do an internship, as many as possible, so you can really get a feel of what goes on behind the scenes. Because a lot of times what you see on camera or in front, that's just all a facade. That's not really what's going on behind the scenes. So intern is my biggest suggestion of what you could do. And again, to answer your, not during COVID, who does? No, not right now, not right now. But what hopefully we will again. I don't know what to tell you. I can't predict the future. Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
I would like to point out, Keitha, that Brittany Neely's.
Oh, thanks, Britt. You're probably referring to me opening up about infertility. That took a lot. It really did. It took my husband and I having some stern conversations, but man, I'm so grateful I did, because like I said, I still get messages from women, men as well. They're going through the same thing right now, and it's tough. You do feel isolated. You feel like you're the only one. You know, I'm not a real woman. I can't have a child, and that's not the case. That's not the case. There are options. There are things you can do, and so I wanted to shed light on that and open some eyes. And I can't say I believe I did. I know that I did because of the feedback that I have received. So thank you for that. And it was important to do. It was important to share. Hey, Catherine, you're welcome.
And I see Dr. Simoncelli has his hand raised.
Mr. Andy Simoncelli. Wait, can I see him?
Hello, Keitha. I'll talk for a while so you can see me. Andy Simoncelli, Nichols Mass Comm grad, 94.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. I taught you. And so I have a question for you. So now, being a mother of two beautiful young children, how are you balancing that in working? And I know in mass media and journalism, it's not always 9 to 5 hours. I'm not sure your schedule is, but so how are you balancing the two things?
First of all, my schedule is 2:30 in the morning until I collapse. Yeah, so Good Morning Jacksonville starts at 4:30 in the morning, and despite what a lot of people think, it's a lot of preparation that goes into it. Even we have producers that do pretty much write the majority of scripts, but as an anchor, you're the chief editor, like you're the final say, everything goes through you. So if something goes on air and it's wrong, it's your fault. So I do get in at least by about 3:30 in the morning or so and go through as much as I possibly can. Obviously I'm reading and writing on the fly as well. So it gets hectic, but I enjoy it. Like I get a high from that, a rush rather. It's a lot of fun for me. But in terms of balance, Andy, that doesn't exist. Like I will say this though, when I was working from home, it was nice to have my babies nearby, but I also found myself being less productive. I needed that, I guess, work-life balance. I needed to have work at work and home at home. So I'm grateful to be back in the station now where I get to focus on my work. And then when I come home, I try to focus on them. And it never stops. It never stops because obviously as a reporter, everyone has your cell phone number. Now there's social media. You're constantly getting messages. And a lot of us journalists, we're nosy by nature, right? You just want to know what's going on constantly. So I'm constantly on my phone, trying to be in a know, knowing what's going on. And because I have a studio set up at home, by the way, I can be on at any moment. Like I'll get a call, Keith, I need you to do X, Y, Z. So, you just have to stay on top of it. So in terms of my hours, Andy, I wake up at 2:30 and I'm done when I collapse. That's how that works.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all so much for the questions. This has been very informative, and I think that you all did receive a lot of valuable information from our talk today. So I now want to ask Dr. James Stewart to close us out with his remarks.
Well, first, thank you, Dr. Bickham and Mr. Clark for setting this up, and obviously, Keitha, for you being here, and all of the observers and participants for joining in as well. I think these sorts of events are very important to our students. And Keitha, you hit right on it in your presentation, is that here's a Nichols student who started out her first job in Morgan City of all places. And by the way, my first job was in Morgan City. I actually lived in Bayou Vista, which is not as upscale as Morgan City. So, and then to go from there to really the pinnacle of the profession shows that what you can do with hard work, with courage, with perseverance. And so I hope all of you can take away from her presentation today that those opportunities are available to you as well, and you should take advantage of them. And so thank you once again for participating in this event. So.
Thank you guys for having me. And remember this, if nothing else, pursue your passion. Don't you think about the money. Don't you think about the stress. Pursue your passion, because eventually your passion is going to pay off. Believe me.
Thank you so much. And before we close, I don't know if Dr. Westbrook or Dr. Caruso or any of our colleagues in MACO had any closing remarks before we end. I just want to make sure I acknowledged everyone. I know we also have our Black History Month chair on the line as well, Dr. Jefferson.
I just want to say I really enjoyed her presentation, and I think it's important that for all the students to know, everyone comes with a certain amount of insecurity and lack of confidence. But when that door opens for you, you take that door and go through it, because face your fears. There's a lot of support out there, and I can see that in this group. So no, I was just very pleased with what you've had to say and what you've shared. It was brave of you to share what you did with you and your husband did. We all have our insecurities, and I think to face them head on is a big lesson in life that we need to all learn to face them. Thank you so much.
Echo what Dr. Westbrook said, and also add how much I appreciate and am inspired by the
very candid conversation and the very inspirational conversation and thoughts that you shared, especially for our students. So we appreciate you spending the time with us today.
No problem. Anything for you guys, my colonels, anything you guys need, call me anytime.
All right. I'm gonna go.
Thank you all so much. That concludes our program. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye.
Thank you, Keitha.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.